Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Carolyn Clark, and it's my privilege to be the worship assistant today. If I can get the microphone to work with my mouth here. I come to this church because I find in it a community that shares my values and that calls me to live those values more deeply. And also because over time, and for me it's been years, this has become my spiritual home, and I'm very grateful for it. We are a welcoming congregation, which means we celebrate and welcome all people of diverse sexual orientations and gender identities. We also strive to welcome people across the diversities of race, age, ability, immigration status, and belief. We are also a congregation working for reproductive justice. So whoever you are, wherever you have come from, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. To learn more about our community and what is happening, you can join our email list and our monthly newsletter. And you can also find us on social media by searching UUCBV. Today, Pastor Kiya, I'm sorry, I keep doing that to your name. Pastor Kiya is preaching on Afghan refugees in Texas.
I'm taller. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hope y'all had a good Thanksgiving. Glad to see you. Thank Kim for playing Here Comes the Sun, and Carolyn being the worship associate today. Our call to worship comes from Nancy Wood. It's number 688 in the hymnal. Hold on to what is good, even if it's a handful of earth. Hold on to what you believe, even if it is a tree which stands by itself. Hold on to what you must do, even if it is a long way from here. Hold on to my hand, even when I have gone away from you. Nancy Wood. And now we're going to light the chalice. You want to come do it? Yeah, just do it. She'll read it and you light it.
The thing is tricky.
Let me see if I can help you. You have to hold this thing up and do it like that. There you go. Good job.
Please read with me. We light the chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, as a beacon of hope for all who seek justice, dignity, and compassion, and in celebration of the life of truth and meaning we share together. Now please join me in saying our affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is his gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
If you want to grab a hymnal, we're going to sing number 370. All people on the earth do dwell.
Standing back.
Yeah.
Think first, and then just come and sing.
Okay.
I'll just play the first line.
Yeah.
That's great.
all ages today is from The Stranger's Farewell, and it's by an Afghan storyteller named Pawasha Bazgar Salam. Long, long ago, in a land as far from here as the sun, yet as near to you as your breath, if you had wandered to the outskirts of a certain town, you would have come across a small house set in a well-tended garden. It was the home of a poor young man called Alim and his wife, Aisha. It was dusk when this tale began, a time when roses are reddest and birds sing their sweetest songs. Aisha was at her stove, stirring bean soup, when through the window she saw a tall stranger dressed in green walking toward the door. "Come in," she called. "The door is not locked." The stranger entered, saying, "Thank you, dear lady. I wonder if I might rest here a while before I journey on. I've been traveling for many, many days, and I'm feeling a little tired and thirsty." "I'm sure you're not only tired and thirsty, but hungry too," said Aisha. "You are most welcome to rest here and refresh yourself." "Yes, yes, welcome," cried Alim. "Do come in. It would give us great pleasure to share the delicious soup that my wife is making." So the strangers stayed, and together they ate the soup. Then, as suddenly as he had appeared, the stranger stood up and stepped towards the door. "I must leave you now," he said. Well, as we all know, small actions sometimes have large consequences. Just before he opened the door, the stranger turned, smiled, and said, "May the next thing you do last until you say enough." And he disappeared down the path. "Oh, the poor man has gone out in the cold and has no money for his journey. Run after him with this, Alim," cried Aisha. She reached into her pocket, took out a silver coin she had saved there, and handed it to Alim. Immediately, she felt another coin in her pocket. She took it out and put it on the table. And then she felt another. She took that one out, and sure enough, another replaced it. Mesmerized, Aisha repeated the action with the same result over and over. Before long, silver coins were piling higher and higher on the table. Some even spilled onto the floor. "Oh, Alim, I feel quite strange. What's happening?" asked Aisha in amazement. "It seems no matter how many coins I take from my pocket, another one appears from nowhere to replace it. Am I hallucinating?" "My dear wife," laughed the young man, "did you not hear what the stranger said as he was leaving? I myself thought it was a strange farewell, but now I understand. He said, 'May the next thing you do last until you say enough.'" "Enough," said Aisha, clapping her hands with joy, and immediately the coins stopped appearing. The happy couple counted the silver coins, making piles to keep them in a safe place to spend as they needed them. For the first time in their lives, they talked of future plans that were now possible. They would expand their one-bedroom house into a home large enough for a family. They'd be able to help their friends and relatives, start a small farm, buy a donkey, and take their produce to market, and so on. So this week, let's learn from Alim and Aisha and give when we don't have much, don't expect anything in return, and remember that giving to others without expecting can richly bless our lives. Now please join me in singing number 118, "This Little Light of Mine," as we go to R.E.
Go
This morning, our prayer is going to be from the Buddhist tradition. It's a metta meditation, and you can repeat after me if you choose to. If you'd rather just listen to your own heart, because you can just be quiet and do that. But if you'd like to participate in the metta meditation, repeat after me. May I be free from danger.
May I be free from danger.
May I be mentally happy.
May I be mentally happy.
May I be physically happy.
May I be physically happy.
May I have ease of well-being.
May I have ease of well-being.
Now, normally you would say this for yourself for 6 months, maybe a year, before you would go on to the second stage. And in this stage, I want you to get somebody in mind that you love. Got them? And you're going to say it for them. May you be free from danger.
May you be free from danger.
May you be mentally happy.
May you be mentally happy.
May you be physically happy.
May you be physically happy.
May you have ease of well-being.
May you have ease of well-being.
Great, and so you might do that for another year. And then there's the challenge. Are you ready? You're going to say this for somebody to whom you have a resentment. I find many people in Washington to be good choices for this. Get somebody in mind. Ready? May you be free from danger.
May you be free from danger.
May you be mentally happy.
May you be mentally happy.
May you be physically happy.
May you be physically happy.
May you have ease of well-being.
May you have ease of well-being.
May it be so.
May it be so.
So we're adding a couple of things to the service, and one of them is a moment for beloved community, just sort of to inspire you, or just ideas that you might want to consider as we try to create a beloved community here in the real world. And this morning I have a list of 25 things that manifest and protect the kind of love that we want for a beloved community. 1, offers radical hospitality to everyone, an inclusive family rather than an exclusive club. Are we making everyone welcome who comes in the door? Recognizes and honors the image of God in every human being, the divine spark that we see in every being. Some people even expand that onto all beings, 4-legged, winged, doesn't matter. Exhibits personal authenticity, true respect, and validation of others. Recognizes recognition and affirmation, not eradication of differences. We celebrate being different from each other, not trying to make everyone conform. Listen emotionally. Listen with your heart. Fosters empathy and compassion for others. Tolerates ambiguity, realizing that sometimes a clear-cut answer is not readily available. Builds increasing levels of trust and works to avoid fear of difference and others. Acknowledges limitations, lack of knowledge or understanding, and seeks to learn. It takes a big person to admit that you don't know something. Please tell me more, you say. Acknowledges conflict or pain in order to work on difficult issues. Speaks truth in love, always considering ways to be compassionate with one another. Avoids physical aggression and verbal abuse. Resolves conflict peacefully without violence, recognizing that peacefully doesn't always mean comfortably for everybody. Releases resentment and bitterness through self-purification, i.e., avoidance of internal violence through spiritual, physical, and psychological care. Focuses energy on removing evil forces or unjust systems, not destroying persons. Unyielding persistence and unwavering commitment to justice. Achieves friendship and understanding through negotiation, compromise, or consensus, considering each circumstance to discern which will be most helpful. Are you hanging in there? All right, got a few more. Righteously opposes and takes direct action against poverty, hunger, and homelessness, advocates thoroughgoing, extensive neighborhood revitalization without displacement. This also applies to the church, working toward responsible and equitable growth, discipleship, and worship. Blends faith and action to generate a commitment to defeating injustice, not forgetting that injustice can also be found within the church. Encourages and embraces artistic expression of faith from diverse perspectives. Fosters dynamic and active spirituality, recognizes that we serve a dynamic God who is not left behind by a changing world or people, and that a passive approach will not work. Gathers together regularly for table fellowship and meets the needs of everyone in the community. Relies on scripture reading or prayer or corporate worship or just taking a walk. Promotes human rights and works to create a non-racist society, and then shares power and acknowledges the inescapable network of mutuality among the human family. So these were all written by Dr. Arthur E. Wright. It's called 25 Things to Build Beloved Community. And now is the time in our service where, thank you. All right. Now is the time in our service where you can come up and light a candle and let people know if you have a joy you want to share with the community or a concern. It's not the time for announcements. But if you'd like to share a joy or concern with everyone, please just come up and I'll get a mic for you.
I'm Deb Wilson, and I would like to share a joy, and maybe it's more of an appreciation. The Fabers are doing a wonderful job, and I don't know if you can see Reed when his mom gets up here to read the story. He's given her the thumbs up, and it is, beloved community starts with us in our own families, and John has kept this church afloat so that we can worship together even if it's on Zoom. But this family has touched my heart.
I am Gay Webb, and I just want to say happy birthday to our church's administrator, Nancy Deere. It's her birthday today, so she's part of our beloved community.
Anybody else?
I want to give thanks for all my buddies that got their vaccination and therefore would allow us getting together and sharing Thanksgiving meal. So, thank you, all my friends.
Molly, and my older sister Kelly has 4 boys. Her eldest is in the Air Force and going to go do his first tour overseas. He's going to be over there for 4 months, and it's a really big deal to her. So our thoughts and prayers are with him.
We'll light one more for all the unspoken joys and concerns in our community.
We have one online as well. Maya says, please light a candle for my dog Rambo, who was attacked by another dog and has multiple wounds on his legs.
Oh, that's terrible. Here's one for Maya. Anyone else?
Yeah, I have a concern for my mother who watched her dog pass. It was sudden and frightening for my mother and I you know, she's in my thoughts and I wish her the best.
Thank you. All right, we'll light one more. Now, it's time in our service for a responsive reading. And Carolyn's coming up to do it.
If you have a hymnal by your seat or on your seat, it's number 442. I'll read the regular type, and if you would read what's in italics. We bid you welcome, who come with weary spirits seeking rest.
Who come with troubles that are too much with you, who come hurt and afraid.
We bid you welcome, who come with hope in your heart.
Who come with anticipation in your step, who come proud and joyous.
We bid you welcome, who are seekers of a new faith.
Who come to probe and explore, who come to learn.
We bid you welcome, who enter this hall as a homecoming.
Who found here room for your spirit, who find in this people a family.
Whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are on life's journey,
we bid you welcome. Can you turn the light on? There's no way I can see what I'm doing. I've got it. Thank you.
That works, huh?
Yes, this is number 163 for the Earth Forever Turning. For the this is too low for me. Can I make it higher?
Yes.
Would y'all be happy about that?
Yes.
Me too. For the earth for the stars, for life, for all we cherish, sing we are joyful song of peace. For the mountains
do what you have to.
Yes, Lord. Yes, we know. The question is whether I can see the sermon in the dark, which I cannot.
Hold it. Let's use this over there.
Great.
Clamps right there. How's that?
Wonderful, thank you. Now, when Allison was telling the story, she had a value that's really important in Afghan culture, which is being hospitable. It's very, very important. And I want you to close your eyes for a minute and imagine that you're living in the United States at the way that you live, you know, somewhere in the middle class zone, maybe a little better, maybe a little worse than that. And I want you to imagine that suddenly all the girls can go to school. If you've ever worked for the government in any capacity, your life is threatened. You have to leave. You don't know how you're going to leave. Some of your family may not get to the airport and get out of town. Some of the people get left behind and you don't know what happened to them. Or even worse, you're talking to them on the phone every day and you don't know if they're ever going to get out or how they're going to get out. That is pretty much the situation if you're an Afghan person who fought or helped the Americans in Afghanistan. Does everybody know where Afghanistan is? Anybody not know? It's in Asia. Yeah, there's 38.93 million people in Afghanistan. It's in Asia. It's a landlocked country. It's very mountainous. It borders Pakistan on the east and south, Iran to the west, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan to the north, and Tajikistan and China to the northeast. It is 99.7% Muslim. And they speak Pashto, which is a difficult language. Does anybody know any Afghan? What? Say something.
Well, I know some Afghan families.
You have to take your mask off.
Oh, sorry. I had a refugee resettlement agency in Charlottesville and also in Baton Rouge. And in Charlottesville, well, no, actually in Baton Rouge, families came in and I helped them get into school and, well, just about everything. And it was very rewarding and I had a wonderful experience.
Yeah. This morning I just want to talk briefly about what's going on in Afghanistan and why we might not be hearing about it, and then what's going on here in Texas and we might want to get involved in. There are things we could actually do. I believe that one of the reasons we're not hearing about it is because everyone is embarrassed in the government. One, about how fast the Taliban took back over the country, and two, the difficulties that happened in the last 20 years. 20 years ago, when people were coming from South Vietnam, we had a pretty good system of helping refugees come into the country. Maybe you're familiar with that or you were involved in it here in Texas. Texas is about the second most populated by refugees state still today. Although Governor Abbott sued the government to stop it. It's not working. We still are about number 2, right behind California, for taking the most refugees in the country. In August, the Taliban forces took control of virtually all of Afghanistan. Following the withdrawal of U.S. military, Chaos and violence impeded the evacuation of many at-risk Afghans at Kabul's airport. Maybe you all saw that. We lost 13 service members and over 60 civilians were killed in the bomb that happened. It was chaos. It was chaos for weeks. Since taking over, the Taliban has allowed only small numbers to depart the country. Taliban forces in several provinces have carried out reprisals, including summary executions of some former officials and security force personnel. The Taliban have conducted raids on the homes of journalists, activists, and human rights defenders. Security forces have used excessive force to break up protests in several cities. Taliban authorities have also increasingly restricted the rights of women and girls, as they did in areas they previously controlled. Authorities have fired all the women from leadership posts, and they were about 25% of the workforce before the Taliban took over. They're not letting girls attend school past 6th grade. Coeducation is banned. If you're on television, you happen to be a woman, you have to wear hijab. Most people were just fired. There is also a famine going on in Afghanistan. One, they're under restrictions from our government for what the Taliban, their money is frozen. Their assets are frozen. People are starving to the point that some of them are selling their daughters. We're not hearing about this, but that's what's going on. Congress did add a $6.3 billion aid package in the Build Back Better. So that's going on, and there's a limit on the aid. There's a lot of fighting going on about it. DHS is responsible for bringing these people in the country. So if you had a member of your family that worked with the Americans, was a translator, did something that helped the Americans, you can get what's called an SIV, a special immigrant visa. And some people were in the process of getting them, but truthfully, the Trump administration slow-walked it. So some people were taking 4 years to get their visa. If you had that visa, you had an easier time getting to the Kabul airport and getting flown out of the country. And when you got to this country, you were able to go to any relatives that you had. You didn't have to necessarily stay on the 8 army bases that people are staying at. But there is about 60,000 Afghan refugees in the United States right now. We have about 1,200 in Texas at Fort Bliss in El Paso. And there are people who are still there living in tents mostly. Some of the bases have military housing, but this is not what people are used to, and they don't necessarily have clothes for the winter or the right things. A lot of the aid work is under the radar. How many people here know exactly how you could help if you could? If you wanted to help, do you know what to do? Do you know who to get a hold of? Yeah, it's just not being talked about. I don't know if it's just an embarrassment to the government, but people are not talking about it. But for the most part, it's the same. There's an Afghan Placement and Assistant Program, the APA, and let me get the right name for you. Here in Texas, the Refugee Services of Texas, the Refugee Service has been doing this kind of work for like 20 years. They're really good, and they are mostly settling people in Houston And Austin has the most, in Dallas, in Fort Worth, and in San Antonio. We don't have any Afghan refugees here that I'm aware of. I tried to find if there were anybody already doing this work here in College Station, and they're not. But there's things that we can do. Refugee Services of Texas would be one way to look it up and to get more information. And what they're starting is a program called Sponsors, and we could become a sponsor of a family if we wanted to. And all it takes is 5 adults who are willing to be background checked and go through the process. Just 5, and we could be a sponsor of a family. I'm going to tell you more about that because I think that's the most interesting thing. I think this kind of information is overwhelmingly dark. And when you hear it and you can't do anything about it, it's so frustrating. It's like, what do we do? There's a lot we can do. So it's called the Sponsor Circle Program, and to learn how to apply to form a sponsor circle, you can go to www.sponsorcircles.org. They have an online class there. They have exact figures, and I'm going to read you some of this information. But communities circle up. Bring together at least 5 adults in your neighborhood to form a sponsor circle. Complete background checks, fundraise, and prepare to submit your group's application for certification. And let's see, where's the name of the place? It's at welcome.us. Basically there's 200 nonprofit groups, kind of like what Dina used to do, that are working to help place people. The government's flying people in, and they're staying at the military camps. And in Texas, it's in El Paso, but also in Wisconsin, and California, and New Mexico, New Jersey, and someplace in Virginia, near DC. There's like 8 bases that have people that are just staying there until somebody gets them a place. The problem is that people left that they didn't have any money. So it's not like they can just go out and rent an apartment. They can't even, prove that they've ever rented before. They don't have the money for anything, really. And so if we wanted to do this kind of work and sponsor a family here, we would be helping them doing everything from renting an apartment, finding a job, helping the kids go to school, getting language training. This is the kind of stuff people need. There are ways that you can just donate money if that's what you want to do, or if you have things that you want to donate. They have lists like on Target and Amazon of things that people need, and you can sponsor by buying one of those things, like a mattress or clothes, or electric kettles are very popular. So the members make a plan and check your knowledge of what is needed to serve as a sponsor circle, and prepare a welcome plan in advance of being matched with a newcomer. And you can get help. There's resources on the welcome.us website, and it tells you what people need and how to get trained and how to get help, and other nonprofits that would help you be a sponsor. So it's not like we'd have to go in blind and just figure it out. Once you're certified, your sponsor circle will welcome the newcomer directly into the community and provide tailored support through the initial integration process. So everything from the food is weird to not having the right shoes for where you're living, or a coat, not having anything. It's that dire a situation. Most people who are coming from Afghanistan that worked with the Americans are pretty middle class, and they're going through a major hardship. It's not like they're used to being poor or having to ask for help. A lot of people are very educated, And some, like the University of Texas in Austin, has about 100 students that are now attending, and they've gotten students that already speak Pashto and can help them get acclimatized and learn the language and stuff. So there's no reason why A&M couldn't get involved in something like that. Here's kind of a list of things that they need. They need about $2,275 per individual that comes in. Help securing housing. Airbnb is often sponsoring people for short stays. Basically, the government gives you about 90 days worth of assistance when you are a refugee. People are humanitarian. They're being allowed in for 2 years on a humanitarian visa. The people who don't have the SIV from the military, they only have 2 years, and basically they only get assistance, and they're not able to get food stamps or any of the kind of assistance an American would get if they were in dire straits. So you help people complete the paperwork to access documentation and public benefits for which the newcomers may be eligible. Connecting to relevant services including healthcare, education, and legal assistance. Supporting an English language acquisition. Helping to secure employment and providing community orientation, friendship, and moral support. There's a lot of stories this week of Afghans that were invited to Thanksgiving events, but really there's an embarrassingly low amount of stories about this. I really have done research for 2 weeks trying to find, stories I could tell you about people. The scariest thing was the way that people were trying to get to the airport and they couldn't get in, and it depended on the gates, whether it was a U.S. service person at the gate or it was Taliban. A lot of times the Taliban would turn people away. And in the crush of people, when the explosions happened, a hole opened up and a lot of people got through that would not have gotten through otherwise. And they are by themselves. They're in the United States by themselves with no relatives, no connection to their family, nothing. And those people are going to stay on those military bases the longest, unless somebody like us adopts them. So I don't know if this is a proper minister thing to say, but this seems like a great opportunity for us to do the right thing. If anybody's interested in doing this, I would be interested in doing it. And I would love to see us find 5 people that would be interested in doing it. This is the kind of work that there's a time sensitivity. People are just sitting at a base trying to figure out what they're going to do with their lives without anything, with no friends or family here. And we could be helping those people. Now, a lot of times this work is done by other church groups, and they help each other to find out about it from each other. Like we are not part of the National Council of Churches. They don't allow Unitarian Universalists to be in that. So there's a lot of situations where we're not included in faith-based organizing, but we should be. And here in College Station, we're sitting in a town that would be very welcoming, I think, and we have a lot of opportunities. Many people feel that immigrants are not a good investment, but it's not true. Economists say that there's a bump that happens, that basically the economy improves 21% after 6 years of being in the United States. Most of these people are very well employed, they're paying a lot of taxes, they're doing things, and it builds the community. It doesn't take jobs away from other people. I think, we're 100 miles from Houston. The UU Church of Houston has adopted one family. And they are there for us to organize with. But most of the people that I'm aware of are in Austin. one of Meg's congregants' son is running the whole immigration process in Austin. So we have resources out there. I just think this is something that we might want to do. Does anybody feel like, does anybody have any questions or, I don't want to bore you. Well, consider it. I have a lot of connections here, but welcome.us is where you can see all the different groups that are working. I think the Immigrant Services of Texas are really well experienced and respectable, and maybe Dina knows about them. And yeah, Alice.
So we would be adopting a family or a person, us as a church?
We could, if we want to do that. I mean, we'd have to go through the board and make sure, but it is something that we could do. It really only takes 5 adults willing to be background checked. And there's training for it. You're not just on your own. You basically create a sponsor circle. You get the training, and we could have more than 5 people, but a minimum of 5 adults to do it. Yes.
So does this person become a resident, a local resident? Because I know that entitles you to things like food bank and other types of assistance, and so those kinds of additional resources probably would be helpful for an individual in that situation.
Yeah, I think there would be a whole lot of research that would have to be done to make sure that we were not doubling up something that somebody's already doing. I mean, maybe Family Promise is involved in this somehow, but I haven't heard that. I really tried to find any reference. There are Syrian refugees here in College Station, but not Afghan.
I guess it seems like it would, so it sounds like there's a lot of, it'd be interesting to know who is involved with that in Austin and do understudy almost. It's a lot to take on without having seen it done or talking to people who've done it before.
Yeah, I would just, if you're interested in getting involved in this, or you just want to explore it more, when you get home, just search welcome.us or Afghan refugees in Texas. It'll come up, all these different groups that are working, and the specific program that I'm talking about that we could get involved in is called Sponsor Circle. Is that right? Sponsorcircles.org. Sponsorcircles.org. And we would just have to start doing the research, but it's something that we could do, and there's definitely a need. There's definitely a need. So I just wanted to offer that to you this morning.
I have a comment.
Thank you for listening to me.
Hello?
Roger has a comment. Or William. Yeah.
I'd like to make a comment.
Sure. Can you hear him? Oh, we might need a mic
Yes.
over here.
There would
Can
be
you bring the mic?
funds, there are funds,
Here, 1 second, William.
potentially the funds available from the PLOS charitable.
Hopefully we don't get feedback. Let's try it. Right over here. Okay, now go ahead, William. Go ahead.
So you can hear me now?
Yeah.
We're working on it.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello.
Go for it.
Yes.
You're on.
Potentially there would be funds available from the PLOS Charitable Trust. PLOS Charitable Trust. PLOS Charitable Trust.
Hey,
They support things like Habitat for Humanity, and this would be a great example of how they. It's a huge fund.
we're losing
And
you.
you apply for funding. You do the Arts Foundation.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
do, your proposal would be due in the spring. It would be considered, and it's a huge fund for things like this. Habitat for Ultra by Fire Gilbert Plus.
Okay. Hey, William, Could you put that in the chat box for me?
This is an opportunity where we could also reach out to our interfaith partners. A lot of people that we're working with Korg and other groups, and we could reach out to them and see if they would be interested in getting on board on this. Great way to make connections with other people, other faith-based caring people in town. Just want to put it out there as a possibility. Seems like something we care about.
I wish we had a slide with all of that information. Maybe we can work on that.
Yeah. I looked at a couple of videos and thought, well, I don't know. Everything is kind of really unbelievably unmarketed. It's not very. It was really hard to find the information. It's really hard to get anything going. I don't know why, but we owe these people. Carolyn?
This is one of the difficulties of being short. But I think I can overcome it.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now let an offering be taken to sustain and strengthen this place which is sacred to so many of us. A community of memory and of hope, for we are now the keepers of the dream. This church shares the proceeds of the offering plate donation every week to support important nonprofit organizations with which we work. This month, we are proud to support the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. The UUSC is a nonprofit, non-sectarian, associate member organization of the Unitarian Universalist Association. It works to provide disaster relief and promote human rights and social justice around the world. Please be as generous as you can. For our virtual viewers, if you wish to make an offering, you can mail your check, or for your convenience, you can donate online. On our homepage at brazos-uu.org, you can find our mailing address at the bottom, and at the top, you will see a donate here link. For us, we have a basket, which is even easier. Okay?
She's hungry.
Visions of donuts, eh?
Yeah, this morning, I thought we'd work a little bit on our singing out loud with people, because we're not used to it. And so I thought I would teach you a song that you may have heard before called Gather Here. And it goes, gather here in the mystery of the hour. Try that.
Right.
Gather here in the mystery of the hour. Gather here in one strong body. Gather here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near. Got it? All right, let's drum and sing. Y'all have to sing louder than this drum, okay? I know you can. Gather here in the mystery of the hour. Gather here in one strong body. Gather here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near. Gather here in the mystery of the hour. Gather here in one strong body. Gather here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near. You think you know it well enough to try it in a round? Because it's a round. I'll help you. We're just going to do 2 parts. So you go, gather here in the mystery mystery of the hour. Yeah. Okay? No problem. 1, 2, ready, go. Gather here in the mystery of the hour. Gather here in the mystery of the hour. Gather here in the summer of God. Gather here on Gather here in the mystery of the hour. Gather here in one strong body. Gather here in the struggle of the power. Spirit drawn near. Mystery of the hour. Gather here in one strong body. Gather here in the struggle and the power. Spirit drawn near. Awesome. Good. It's hard to sing with people, but there's some real magic thing that happens, and you just have to trust that nobody's listening to you. And just sing as loud as you can, and from your heart, and it'll feel better. It's magic. It's good magic. This is a cajon. It's a South American, Central American drum, and it has snares in it, like a snare drum, on the inside. And you can sit on it and play. So if anybody wants to try it out after the service, help yourself.
Okay. It's now time to extinguish the chalice. So please join me in doing that. Good, thank you. We extinguish this flame without the love of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we gather together again.
Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars.